8 in just 1 week. Pedestrian accidents can cause devastating injuries. If you've been struck by a careless driver, call Trantolo and Trantolo and let our family help your family.
Hey, it's Nathan Gaucher, Mac Mitsubishi in Hartford. Right now, Mac Mitsubishi is having our red-hot Clear the Lot sales event. So going on right now, we're bringing it back. Cash for Junkers is here. Get up to $3,500 for absolutely any trade. That's right, get up to $3,500 for any trade, no matter the condition. Plus, forget about $199. All it takes is $99 in a job to get you driving today. Log on to MacMitsubishi.com or get here now. Mac Mitsubishi, New Park Ave, Hartford.
PosGen is so excited to introduce the next generation of solar system, the Decotech Integrated Solar Roof. This is a low-profile, slim design. What are you waiting for? Give PosGen a call today. Let us start saving you money and give you this beautiful Decotech roof.
The team that's ready when you are. Expect more tonight and every night. Turn to Fox 61 News at 10. Right place, right time.
Today on The Real Story, the race for U.S. Senate. Incumbent Democrat Chris Murphy being challenged by Republican businessman Matt Corey, a strong supporter of President Trump. The latest Quinnipiac University poll shows Corey 15 points behind. With Election Day less than 3 weeks away, he's our first guest this morning.
Also today, a look at the prospects for Republicans to win control of the General Assembly after many years of Democrat domination, and the governor's race, where Democrat Ned Lamont is leading Republican Bob Stefanowski, but not by a lot. What will happen? We're going to get the view from the right and the left with former state Senator Rob Kane and state Representative Tony Guerrero.
And a fascinating House race in the Orange Derby area, the district now represented by House Minority Leader Themis Clarity's there on the right. We'll be talking with her Democrat challenger, Mary Wielander, a school board member and a statewide representative for the Sandy Hook Promise Organization. It's all today on The Real Story. Hello there, you're watching The Real Story. I'm Al Terzi alongside Jen Bernstein.
Thank you, Alan. Good morning to everyone at home. Well, 2 years ago, one of Connecticut's U.S. Senators, Richard Blumenthal, won another 6-year term. This time, it's Senator Chris Murphy's turn to convince voters that he, too, deserves re-election.
But he has a pesky challenger in Hartford, businessman, U.S. Navy veteran Matt Corey, whose name you'll remember from his past runs for Congress against John Larson. With just over 2 weeks till Election Day, we're happy to have Mr. Corey back on with us once again. Well, here you are, 15 points behind. From what I remember, you cut the deficit in half.
Good morning.
From what it had been.
Absolutely. We're working really hard out there. I think our message is resonating with the working families of the state of Connecticut. They understand that I represent 60% of the country, small business owner, Navy veteran, blue-collar worker. And I think that means a lot. And they need somebody down in Washington to work with this administration and not obstruct. So I believe that's resonating in the state of Connecticut with voters.
But now Chris Murphy has been working with the president on the Buy American thing. So he's working with him in one respect anyway.
Well, the Buy American thing he talked about 10 years ago, and he was talking about a company called Ansonia Brass, and they're now out of business. So his Buy America thing just is not working. Look, this is about taxes, regulations, and creating a friendly business environment. Right now with the Tax Cuts Jobs Act, businesses and people feel confident in the government that they're not going to put obstructions in the way. It's unfortunate Connecticut's looking in from the outside, but we have small businesses here in the manufacturing trades. I have a guy that I know is 56 years old, had a 2-man machine shop, is now taking a leap of faith, going to expand to 6 to 8 more employees just because of that tax cut. And it's wonderful that that's happening here in the state of Connecticut.
What are you hearing mostly from people and businesses when you go around? What are they saying that they don't like about Senator Murphy and that they're looking for in you?
I just don't think he understands business and the business needs. So he's walking across the state versus I'm working across the state. So when he walks into a small business and they tell him their issues that they're facing, whether it's energy, regulations, compliance tax, buying and selling across state lines, or what they have to deal with stealing of intellectual property overseas, he doesn't understand the business mindset. It's relative. I run a small business. I meet a payroll. I walk into that business. And I say, look, I'm going to help you. If I was going to Washington, I would take that to heart. Senator Murphy doesn't understand that. You have to live and have real life experiences to understand that, and that's what I bring to the table.
So you would work in the Senate to be mindful of the needs of businesses and the encumbrances from the regulations that are out there that you say are unnecessary and they cause a lot of pain and monetary damage to companies struggling to get along. What else will you be expected to do down there? What else are you interested in?
It's about finding common ground. And look, the Commerce Committee is a huge committee. It's probably one of the underrated committees. We have a large fishing industry here in the state of Connecticut. We sell a lot of product. Agriculture business is huge in the state of Connecticut. That's something that we need to look at and make sure and ensure that those businesses thrive here in the state of Connecticut. Not only that, manufacturing is the heart and soul of the state of Connecticut. And what I'm hearing from manufacturing needs is there's 13,000 manufacturing jobs that are open today. We don't have the apprenticeship programs to get these young men and women involved in the manufacturing needs. A $60,000, $65,000 a year job is a wonderful startup job. And what I'm hearing from manufacturers are they're farming from other companies the existing workers that are out there, and we need to get those people trained and get them into this economy. And I also talked about the vocational trades, and I see what Mayor Luke Bronin's doing with the blighted properties in the city of Hartford. You have kids in the revolving door prison systems or kids that don't have those vocational trades.
There are a lot of jobs going begging. Companies can't find qualified people. So.
They can't, and they also can't find them in the construction trades. So we have an opportunity right here in the city of Hartford, whether it's New Haven.
And it's all good paying stuff.
Great paying jobs. I mean, you're looking at an apprenticeship program of $50,000, $60,000 a year. The Transportation Commission in the country saying they're lacking of truck drivers. There's something an alternative to a 4-year degree out there, and that's something we need to press. Not everybody's cut out for college. When they talk about student loan debt, you can work for companies that have loan forgiveness, whether it's a Starbucks, Target. That's another option for students to go to. But the trades and vocational needs of the state of Connecticut and the country is right there. And that's what I want to advocate for.
President Trump, you've aligned with him on a lot of issues. Do you agree with him on mostly everything? How do you get the people who are maybe a little bit more on the left to vote for you? I mean, you also went down to a book signing for Ann Coulter, who is a very polarizing figure in August, right?
Absolutely. Look, this is about sending somebody to Washington to work with this administration, Jen. We've already heard from Senator Murphy that he's going to obstruct this administration for possibly next 2 to 6 years if you send him back to Washington. They've already said they're going to focus on.
He said he's going to obstruct.
Well, this is what's going to happen now. They said if they get the majority in the House, they're going to focus on impeaching this president. They're going to focus on impeaching a Supreme Court nominee. Connecticut cannot afford another 2 to 6 years of obstructionism. We need someone to work with this administration, like the president or not. There's so much on the table and so much at stake for the state of Connecticut. There's a $1.5 trillion infrastructure package on the table down there. We need someone to work with this administration, bring those much needed federal funds home to Connecticut, to put the operation engineers, the Teamsters, the laborers back to work. This is what Connecticut needs. Connecticut needs no one else to go back to Washington for more divisive politics. There's enough of that. We need someone down there that can find common ground and work and compromise and work with the other side. And that's what I think I bring to the table, because I am that working class person. That's what I bring to the table.
There are differences of opinion. Now the international story, the big story in the news, the murder of the Washington Post columnist over there in Turkey and the consulate for Saudi Arabia. What should the U.S. do in reaction to that? How should we treat Saudi Arabia going forward? The president says, hey, there's a $110 billion deal here. We have arms deal, and we got to find another way to deal with it. Do you agree with that?
Look, first and foremost, what I wouldn't do is what Senator Murphy did, is jump in front of the news cycle to get his face out there. What I would do is wait for a full investigation, find out what's behind it. If Saudi Arabia is behind it, there needs to be some consequences. Look, they're a key player in the fight against Iran, the safety of the Middle East. The $110 billion arms deal, if the United States doesn't do this, they're going to turn to Russia, they're going to turn to China. That does not help. That's 500,000 jobs here in this country that we need to protect, Al. They're going to get their arms somewhere, but it's a delicate process because they are a partnership not only with Israel but with the United States in the safety of the Middle East, and we need to bring this to the table. Should there be some sanctions? Absolutely. This is what being energy independent calls for right here. Instead of relying on terrorist nations for our oil and energy needs, this is what I would focus on. But yes, of course there needs to be some consequences, but let's wait till all the facts come out first.
All right, Matt Corey, Republican for U.S. Senate, thank you for being with us. We'll see you on Election Day.
It's been an honor.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim.
Well, still to come today on The Real Story, Connecticut Speaker of the House, Republican Themis Claridis, like all state lawmakers, is facing re-election. And this morning, you are going to meet her Democratic challenger, Mary Wielander, who says she's going to take a different path to growing jobs and boosting education. We're going to ask her about that.
And next, though, right after a quick break, it'll be the Rob and Tony Show. Former State Senator Rob Kane and soon-to-be former State Representative Tony Guerrera, they're both here with their respective takes on what the General Assembly might look like when the dust clears on the day after Election Day. Who's going to be sitting in the governor's office come January? In a moment.
Buckle up, Buttercup.
It's real, and it pulls people together.
We're breaking waves, shooting stars, and if for glory, not
Sounds like fun.
In case you missed it on the Fox 61 Morning News.
Police are currently wrapping up an investigation.
State police are still here taking photos of the scene.
For the first time in 5 years, the Red Sox are heading to the World Series.
The Red Sox beat the Astros 4-1.
This is really slowing you down.
Next weather maker is this band of rain. You know what? It's good this time of year.
Got all the high fructose corn syrup.
Miss a morning, miss a lot of the Fox 61 Morning News. Expect more Monday from 4 to 10 a.m. When crime breaks in Connecticut, Fox 61 Chief Investigator Brian Foley brings you an insider's perspective of the investigation.
There'll be an internal affairs investigation.
He digs deeper.
IAD will dig in. They'll look at all the police reports.
Chief Investigator Brian Foley, exclusively on Fox 61 News at 10. Expect more.
Hi, I'm Jim Grasso. My mother was Ella Grasso. She was a great governor and a proud Democrat. Mom considered Connecticut her family and always did what was right. That's why I'm supporting Bob Stefanowski. Ned Lamont will raise taxes and put up tolls. Bob will cut taxes and create jobs. On Election Day, Ella Grasso's son is going to be voting for Bob Stefanowski for governor. Democrats across Connecticut should join me.
I'm Bob Stefanowski, and I approve this message.
Soldiers in the Army National Guard serve to give back to their country and communities. Their part-time commitment qualifies them for an array of benefits, such as affordable health and life insurance benefits, education benefits, including tuition assistance, student loan repayment, and GI Bill programs, a retirement plan based on part-time service, and VA home mortgages. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about all the benefits available in the Army National Guard.
Thanks so much for staying with us. There is a lot at stake in the November election. Right now, Democrats have the majority in the state House of Representatives, but not by a lot, only by a few seats.
In the Senate, Democrats and Republicans are even, an 18-18 tie. Will it remain that way? And if not, which party will then control the chamber? And of course, we have the race for governor.
Oh, yes.
Lots to talk about.
We do. And there are a lot of key races to watch and key issues. Top of that list, the huge budget deficit and the lagging economy. So joining us to discuss, former state Senator Rob Kane of Watertown, now the Republican auditor for the state. And then we have Democratic representative for a few more weeks. Anyways, Tony Guerrera of Rocky Hill. Both have been on our show a ton, never together. So this is exciting.
I heard the intro. Maybe we can have our own show, the Rob and Tony Show.
Rob and Tony Show.
An idea.
You brought it up.
Well, wait a minute. Rob and Tony sounds like not a good idea.
Like a
Well,
dog
I
and
thought it was
pony
going to be
show.
Tony and Rob, but that's all right. Here we go.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay, so what do you guys think so far? I know you got to watch the Gov debate. Who do you think's ahead at this point? I mean, you're probably going to say Stefanowski.
No, I think it's very close. I think, you know, both of them are doing a good job. They're out there campaigning. Their TV
How do you
ads are
account for
working.
the fact that it's so close?
I think people are very undecided. You know, they really don't know much about either one of them, really.
Right.
We saw Ned Lamont a few years ago running, but other than that, we haven't seen him since. And Mr. Stefanowski is new to the political game, so I think there's a lot of questions out there about who should take over, who should lead, you know? So I think it's going to be interesting.
You think, Tony?
Well, again, I have to say that I think Ned is in the lead. I've watched numerous debates, and I do like what Ned is coming out and saying, that how he's going to fix certain issues with the state of Connecticut. And, you know, the Republican colleague, you know, Bob Stefanowski did a fantastic job in the primary, as we know, was the underdog and came out and became the winner. But again, you know, the issues that coming down to getting rid of the income tax, that's, you know, that's a hard sell, as we all know. And to get rid of it and to say that, you know, everyone's going to benefit from it, I don't think so.
But it's a worthwhile conversation, and you know, something that it should be had. You know, Tony and I were there over the last 8 years where we saw, you know, 2 largest tax increases in our state's history. So why not have that conversation? I appreciate him bringing it up. We should be talking about it.
So you think that that's maybe just the start? He's going to get in there if he wins the election and find that maybe that's not practical, but maybe I can cut rates?
Well, it's a laudable goal, certainly, so we should have someone looking at that. You know, I think both of them have a business perspective, which is exciting to both of us, being small business owners for many years. So I think that's interesting, but a lot's going to come down to who gets their vote out. I mean, it's so important, you know. Tony and I will tell you, retail politics 101 is, you know, making sure you identify your vote and making sure they come out on election day. It's so key.
It's been a very weird year in politics, as we all know. I think the whole issue with the Trump factor, the Malloy factor, I think every candidate that's running right now doesn't know.
Which factor do you think is stronger, the Malloy factor or the Trump factor?
It's hard to say. It really is, Al. I think you get, as we were talking before, you get some people, when you knock on their door, say, I will not vote for any Republicans, and you get someone that says, I can't vote for a Democrat again. So it's a very dynamic issue that's going on outside in the state of Connecticut right now. And I think that's why you're seeing so many candidates working extremely hard. And I mean that when I say extremely hard. Door knocking, making phone calls. I tell you, in all the years that I've been a representative, I don't think I've seen so many candidates working as hard as this year.
What about contentious races?
Yeah, let's talk about some of those. Let's start in the Senate. There are a number of them. There's a few open seats, too.
When I got elected in 2008, we had 12. And now we're at 18 out of 36. So it's quite a growth for the Republican Party. I think we have a great opportunity to take over the Senate, but it's going to be very close. Like you mentioned, there's open seats, Senator Kennedy's seat, Senator Schlossberg's seat, Senator Guglielmo's seat, which is, you know, can go either way, was held by a great guy for so many years, and he retired. You know, we heard about some tough races in Senator McLaughlin down in Danbury area. You know, Senator Summers is always working hard. Senator Suzio, who's traditionally been in a tough race in Meriden, but nobody works harder than him. Melissa Zebrin, who's a state representative running for the 33rd, that's going to be a good race. So it's pretty interesting. It's a good cycle.
And it's going to be interesting, whoever is governor, you're going to have that lieutenant governor, and I mean, you know, it's tied right now. It might not be tied again, but that person will be still key vote.
It can be a key vote. We've seen that many times in the Senate. It could be a swing vote either way, sure.
Yeah, you could have a Democratic governor, a Republican Senate, and a House, you know, Democratic caucus that you're dealing with now, and talk about mixing it up.
Seriously.
You know, that's a dynamic situation.
What do you think about the House right now?
I think the House, you know, 18 years there, obviously we've seen our numbers diminish over the last probably 4 or 5 years here. There's some tough races. Danny Rivero, who was a Democrat, I think that's going to be very difficult to maintain as a Democrat. Linda Gentile, we were just talking about that. That's going to be difficult. So, you know, again, it is a unusual year for politics, and right now, you know, I don't think anyone can call it. I really don't.
What's going to be what's going to be the atmosphere over there? Is it still going to be the finger pointing, it's your fault kind of thing going on?
Well, we were talking about that earlier as well. You know, Hartford is not like Washington, D.C. I mean, Tony and I, you know, get along great, always did. But, you know, we always got along with people on the other side of the aisle because we're very similar in background. So I don't think that happens so much in Hartford. I'm sure you agree.
Yeah, I mean, we had a bipartisan budget that was passed last session. As you know, both parties came together and worked out their issues and so forth. But, you know, you bring up a good point, though, Al. I think that we need to sit down, whoever this, I'm hoping that obviously it's going to be a Democratic governor that comes in, that Ned comes into place here, sits down and deals with the issues, whether it's pensions, the deficit, and bringing more businesses into the state here, and giving them guidelines in regards to how to get these businesses in here. I think what we've heard out there, and I think Rob can agree with me on this, is that every time you ask a business to move into the state of Connecticut, and you ask them to do 1, 2, and 3, and they do 1, 2, and 3, the next thing you know, someone tells them to do 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, as a business owner, you know, that's money that you're losing every day that you don't open up your doors. So we have to make sure that we get a plan in place that allows those businesses to come in and talk to them and really bring them to the table.
You have an interesting perspective just because you're more of a moderate Democrat who's a business owner, right? So the question is, other Democrats, are they going to be able to see that too? I think they're going to have to. As times move on here, and if we want our state to grow, that, listen, I'm not saying that we got to give up our core values in regards to what we want as Democrats, but we also have to open the door and make sure that we don't push businesses away. We can't afford to do that as a state. And I think you heard it from Ned Lamont, you're hearing it from many representatives, many senator candidates, representative candidates. They do get it. But on the other hand, we want to make sure that people have health care, that they have a fair wage, and they have equal rights. So, you know, it's going to be an interesting cycle. Last word.
Well, I think everybody wants the state to succeed on both sides. It's just maybe a different view, a different vision, you know, and I think the Republicans having the gains that we've had over the last 10 years shows that the needle, I think, is moving in that direction.
Okay.
All right.
So civil.
Thank you very much for your insight, guys.
Is our show after their shows?
Yeah, exactly. You guys can take
Tony
over
and Rob, or Rob and Tony? All right.
Thank you both very much.
Up next, right after a quick break, as House Minority Leader Themis Claridis enters the final 2 weeks of her bid for re-election, her challenger, Orange Democrat Mary Wielander, pushing toward the finish line of her first campaign to become a state lawmaker. Stay with us and hear about her plans.
Tuesday on Work in CT, making the transition from student to worker.
Be a team player, have a good attitude.
The Connecticut organization that's painting a bigger picture for local kids.
It makes a huge difference in their life.
Tuesday at 6:20.
I'm gonna shout it from the rooftop.
The Red Sox are in the World Series. Fox 61 has you covered. Tuesday at 7 with Fox 61 Sports Ticket. Road to the championship. Followed by Game 1 as the Sox face the Dodgers. Fox 61. Expect more.
Hey, it's Nathan Gaucher, Mac Mitsubishi in Hartford. Right now, Mac Mitsubishi's having our red-hot Clear the Lot sales event. So going on right now, we're bringing it back. Cash for Junkers is here. Get up to $3,500 for absolutely any trade. That's right, get up to $3,500 for any trade, no matter the condition. Plus, forget about $199. All it takes is $99 in a job to get you driving today. Log on to MacMitsubishi.com or get here now. Mac Mitsubishi, New Park Ave, Hartford.
Well, thanks again very much for joining us here on The Real Story. She is running for the state legislature, and she says for her, this is personal.
Personal because she wants to make a difference for her family and all families, getting the economy back on track, creating jobs, boosting education, but doing it differently, more efficiently, she says.
And her name is Mary Wielander, and we're very happy to have her here to explain her plans and her ideas. You're a member of the Board of Education in Orange?
Yes, I am.
And you have some other duties that you have in town.
Well, I serve on the board of our PTA, a very active PTA, and I am also the statewide ambassador for Sandy Hook Promise, which means I help other volunteers across the state implement the prevention programs in their schools and their organizations. And I've also been working with them on their legislative side and have gone down to D.C. twice in the past couple months on their behalf, meeting with members of the House and the Senate on both sides of the aisle, advocating for these prevention programs to have federal funding, but also increased funding for school counselors and school psychologists.
What made you want to run?
My kids, really. I don't want my children or other children to have to leave the state to be successful. And right now, we are not preparing a situation for them and opportunities for them once we finish educating them. We invest a massive amount of time and money and multiple resources in educating our children across the state. And yet we have not made the plan for that next step. And so if you look at it almost like product development, we're developing this product, and right before it launches, we have to ship it to another store because we don't have a place on the shelf for it. And I think that that is just, it's a waste of resources, it's a waste of physical, it's not fiscally responsible, and it doesn't make our state stronger.
So you're talking about college kids leaving the state, going to New York, Boston, and not setting up shop here.
Exactly, exactly. And you know, the college isn't for everyone. I come from a military family. All three of my brothers are combat veterans. It's something that
Please thank them for their service.
Yes, I will, thank you. It's something, you know, but that's not for everyone either. And I think that we also haven't been making use of our vocational schools, our technical schools, the advanced manufacturing programs. I mean, we have so many different places.
We haven't been making use? What do you mean?
Well, we haven't been supporting them, I think, the way that they need to be. And this is something that I've heard multiple candidates mention, that we have about 10,000 or more unfilled manufacturing jobs within the state. And these are projects that are not short-term projects. So we should be talking to Sikorsky, we should be talking to Electric Boat and supporting these companies that are here now and saying, what positions are you going to need? What certifications are you going to need in 3 years, in 5 years, when you reach that next step of the development of this this contract? And then making sure that our young people understand that those opportunities are available and we get them into those training programs.
And being on the Board of Education, you deal with financial problems every year. You're always worried about how much you're going to get cut on local aid. And now here's another $4 billion deficit we're looking at for the next biennium. And what are you going to do to make that easier for your colleagues on the Board of Education?
Obviously, as a board member, as the mother of 3 school-age children, supporting our schools is something that's of vital importance. I think it's a key for moving our state forward, for all of our children to have access to a quality education. This is something that we've spent a long time digging this hole for ourselves, and it's not going to be an easy fix by any stretch.
They're going to have to cut a lot of spending.
We should definitely be looking at certain areas that need to be more efficient and cut some things, but I think we also need to start making smart investments, making sure that, because it all ties together. So if we want to support our schools, that means we need to support our businesses because they will raise our tax base. So by doing that, if we can make businesses more likely to want to stay here or to set up shop here, we need to start looking at supporting them in infrastructure for transportation.
But would we do it the way we have been doing with first 5, next 5, and all that?
We have to start looking at things differently. I mean, if we keep sending the same people back over and over, then nothing is going to be changing. I'm challenging someone who's been in office for almost 20 years.
She has a leadership position. She has a powerful place as the minority leader in the House. What do you think that she should be doing differently?
I think that when you're in a position of leadership, then you have a unique opportunity to use your voice to strengthen certain things, to speak up for people who need support. And I'm seeing a lot of needs that aren't being met. I've been knocking doors since the end of May. Almost entirely on my own and having as many one-on-one conversations as I can. And there are people who are struggling in all 3 of these towns. They all have very, very different needs and needs of support. But
And Valley people are very resilient, but I mean, it's still a struggle.
They are struggling, and the stories that I've been hearing sometimes are heartbreaking. People who don't have enough to eat, that are concerned about how are they going to go to the doctors. They cannot pay for their own medication. And I think it is vitally important to have different perspectives in the decision-making process. I have been home for 11 years. To do that in Connecticut, my husband has been working 2, sometimes 3 jobs. And to be in a position, making a decision, understanding that the choices that you are making as in government have real-time effects on families.